Hello everyone, my name is Hanan Bashir. I am currently pursuing chemistry from IIT Bombay. Today I am going to give an overview of the course CH104 in organic chemistry. So I am going to start from lecture 3 because lecture 1 and lecture 2 are skipped for our portion. So let's start. So main group chemistry. So we are going to study the group chemistry of the periodic table. We are going to discuss property like ionization energy, electronegativity, electroaffinity and VSEPR theory. So ionization. So when we ionize a metal, we will get an electron, and we know that in the first group, the sodium, potassium, the first ionization energy is the least. Then onwards, the ionization energy is increased. Whereas as we go from left to right in the periodic table, we can ionize more and more electrons until we reach till the center. Afterwards, the non-metallic elements start. So this is the trend which is followed over the periodic table of the ionization energy. So we can observe that the least spots will be occupied by the alkali metals. Then second spot will be by alkaline earth metals, and these kings which you can observe here, which is given by boron, oxygen, aluminium, sulfur. So this is due to their electronic configuration. So when we excite this electron, or I mean remove this electron from boron, so this 2p will become empty. So very less energy is required to make this empty. Similarly, for oxygen, we will get three unpaired electrons, which will have high exchange energy. Hence, it is very favorable reaction. Hence, this electron will be easily removed. So this is the trend in the last group of the non-metals, which is the fluorine family. So here fluorine will have the second least after chlorine, because chlorine will be easily able to remove the electron because of its big size, and fluorine's small size prevents from removing the electron with that ease. And this is the Pauling scale, which represents the electronegativity of the elements. The most electronegative element is fluorine. Then second most is oxygen. You have to keep this in mind for the exam. The Pauling scale was described by Pauling, Linus Pauling, who measured the bond energies of the electrons and the compound of the compounds formed by these elements, and then he decided a rating for each element. So from that, he observed that smaller differences are enough when one of the elements is highly electropositive element. Two elements, when they have similar electronegativity, they form covalent compounds. And if they have large electronegative difference, they favorably form ionic compounds like NaCl. This is the sizes of different elements in the periodic table. So you can see from left to right, the size decreases, and from top to bottom it increases, and metallic character follows the same trend as size. So bigger size, the more metallic the metal would be, the element would. Now this is the main group. So electronegativity is an important factor which is used to analyze and rationalize different properties of the compounds, and the hydrides, oxides and halides, and even chlorides also well. Then main group elements, just I said, non-metallic character increase left to right, and metallic increase top to bottom. The non-metallic character is preferred if the element size is small, whereas metallic is if the size is bigger. P block is the only part of the periodic table where it has only non-metallic elements. There are metallic elements as well, but it is only part which has non-metallic elements. This is a important classification of knowing that electronegativities of an element, if it's less than 2, then it's classified as a metal, whereas if it is greater than 2.2, it is a non-metal, and intermediates are our the intermediate elements, what we say, silicon. Then consider the first long period. In the first long period, we know that the elements which they are like silicon, phosphorus. Uh, this is the group 14. Of the first element, it will be silicon, which is a metalloid. So metalloids will have the electronegativity between 2 to 2.2. It has the property of both metal and non-metal. Similarly, phosphorus is a true non-metal, and it exists in several elemental forms which you have seen before, and it always contain a pp bond. So it dimerizes or polymerizes, as it is possible in this case. Now, sulfur, chlorine, and these elements are the further in the period. The sulfur forms S8 rings and chlorine forms diatomic covalently bond molecules. Argon is a inert gas, hence it is a monoatomic. Main element hydrides. So we know that hydrides are preferable with non-metals because they have a large electronegativity difference. Similarly, metals do form hydrides as well, like BH2 and boron. But boron is a highly non-metallic element, even though it belongs to the metallic side. Similarly, group 15, 16, 17, the hydrides are quite polarized and hence form H plus and X delta minus. And this is the reason these have the presence of the acidate character in them. Now, we have question that if hydrides have with the elements of electronegativity 0.9 and 3.5, so 0.9, which is less than 2, hence it's a metal. So it will be, when hydrolyzed, it will give a basic hydroxide and H2 gas. And similarly, this is HX, and because it's a non-metal, we will be observing an acidic solution. The main group element chlorides, this is the property of chlorides which you have to keep in mind, that except beryllium, the chlorides are ionic solids, whereas in beryllium's case it is a covalent. And the majority of chloride of group 14 and 15 BCl3 are molecular covalent species. The chloride of the P block and beryllium give acidic solution, just as I said before. And CCl4, since having a high covalent nature, it does not dissociate to give a acidic solution. And this is because due to the purely kinetic effect. And main group element oxides. So we know that the alkali metal and alkaline earth metals do form oxides as well, like Na2O, CaO. And when they are hydrolyzed, then we get OH minus ion, the basic solution, as well as their counter anion. Counter cation, I mean. And the group 13, such as B2O3 and Al2O3, are polymeric, and Al2O3 is amphoteric. Amphoteric is it reacts with bases as well as acids. Then SO3 plus H2 gives 2H plus SO4 2 minus. This is a stable anion. And for group 17, the xenon, the oxides are molecular species. So we have to keep this in mind. Then hydrogen. Hydrogen is the atom which is, when bonded with different elements, will result in interlinked hydrogen bonding. And the structure of ice is formed due to this only, and it is detected by neutron diffraction technique. It is also by X-ray diffraction techniques also. But there are some shortcomings of them, that lighter elements might not be able to detected in presence of heavier elements. Then we have to see the ionization characters, like water acts as a Bronsted acid as well as base in these given molecules which you can observe. This first one is a monobasic acid, second one is a oxalic acid which is dibasic, and last one is EDTA. So this is a tetrabasic acid, but it is hexadentate. So we will come to that in the next part. For larger K, the acid is stronger, and larger Kb, it is stronger base, and it is inverse relation if we take the pK and pKb. In organic acids, hydrogen halides and oxo acids are form of the HX. Then these are oxo acid which have an oxygen as well as a non-metal in it. Then oxo acid may be mono, di, or polybasic, just we saw before. HNO3 is a fully ionized in aqueous solution. But HNO2 and HOCl behave as a weak acid because their hydrogen is not ionizable. And then HNO3 and H2O. So when we dissolve it in water, we will get this counter anions and this H3O plus hydroxyl anion. And these are the pK values and pKb values which you can see. Now, in organic bases, many are hydroxides. They have alkali term in it, and NaOH, KOH, RBOH, and CSOH are strong bases. Nitrogen bases NH3 and RNH2. And when we react them with water, then we'll get the hydroxide ions and this NH4 plus ion, which is the ammonium ion. This is H2S, H2SC, and H2TE. When they are hydrolyzed, we get the general form He minus. And these are the pKb values of these elements. Going group 1 alkali metals, lithium, potassium, rubidium, cesium, lina-K, Rabse-Faryad, which is the short form of it. I mean, the way to remember it. And this is the layer sequence. So we can see cesium is bonded to 8 atoms, but so sodium is bonded to 6 atoms. So this is the structure which we have to keep in mind. The size, the cation radius to the anion radius ratio, which is used to determine the structure. So we give the structure name as a ZNS fluoride, which have the structure, if the radius ratio is between these two values, and between these two values will have NaCl, and between greater than 0.732 will give CSCl. So there's an issue that if the radius ratio is near borderline, we might be not able to predict which type of structure will it be, and there is significant covalent bonding. Then also we cannot predict. And ionic radii, if not correctly known, then also there is a drawback. CSI, if given, so let's predict what will be its structure. Take the ratios of the cation and anion. We get 0.76 greater than our ratio 0.732. So hence we get CSCl structure. LIF, which is 0.56. So we get the NaCl structure because it is between 0.414 to 0.732. Compound with oxygen and sulfur. So we will get these compounds. One is the lithium will only form oxide, whereas sodium will form peroxide, and rest all will form superoxide. The hydrolysis products are this OH minus, H2O2, and OH minus, H2O2, and O2. So it's just increasing. You can observe there's an extra H2O2 and here extra O2. So we are just hydrolyzing and checking. And the last ones are superoxide, which is a paramagnetic in nature. Then 6 Li plus N2, so it gives Li3N. So this is very stable because high lattice energy because of small Li plus and highly charged Na3 minus. And hydrolysis of Li3N gives ammonia, so which is NH3, and LiOH is a base, and it's quite a poor base. And hydrides, 2M plus H2 gives 2M M plus H minus. And this when hydrolyzed, we get H2 gas as well as basic hydroxide of the metal. Then H minus anion is a strong base which can deprotonate organic molecules ready to come to CH. And complexes with carbon, this is our acetylene, which when we remove a hydrogen molecule and then add a metal, then we get this. And then further we can remove, and then we will get this. So the metal will be attached to the same carbon as it was removed before. Then ethane is active in this acid, yes. Now Li, double Li is added on Rx, and when hydrocarbon, when we remove X, then we get RLi plus LiX, and this is a organometallic compound. So this is a organolithium compound. But this in general it's organometallic, but in this case it's organolithium, and it will form this type of tetramer. And simple coordination compounds. So these are the compounds which are formed on coordination. So NH3 will give its lone pair to lithium, and similarly this is an 18 crown 6 molecule, and this is cryptan. So this is a most stabilizing coordination atom because molecule, because it does chelation, and chelation is an important factor for stabilizing the central metal cation. Then similarity between lithium and magnesium, they follow diagonal relationship, and their oxides and their carbonate decomposition both are same, and they form same compounds with ammonia. And lithium does not follow the trend followed by sodium and the other elements in its same group. And the last thing is that in the group 1 alkaline earth metals, the elements beryllium, calcium, strontium, barium, and radium, we observe that beryllium is a rare metal, and it forms beryl, which is B3L2Si6O18, and this is the method by where you can extract the beryllium from this beryl. And keep in mind that K2SO4 is soluble, whereas CSO4 and SRSO4 are not soluble in water. And the alkaline metals are named after the alkaline earths. And just keep this paragraph in your mind. Okay. So lecture 1 ends here. Now we will continue for the lecture 4 and further lectures. Okay. Thanks for watching.